So we're starting to find out a bit of information now about Series 12 and what it might entail. We know the Jadoon are back, for instance. That's one bad guy from the past that we know is coming back. But I wondered what Series 11 bad guys might make a return or might be good to make a return. But I didn't want to do this alone, so I'm cracking open the crossover machine to find someone to help me discuss this with. Let's find another YouTuber. I need to do a bit of repair work on this. My button on the front's fallen off.
Hey Phil, how's it going?
Hey man, I'm good. Guys, at home, this, you probably already know him, is Reese from GallifreyForever97, the YouTube channel, the WhoTube channel, and he is here to help me discuss this. Me and Reese are going to be going through every single episode of Series 11, discussing the bad guys that were in that episode, and, yeah, discussing whether or not we think they should return. Hi, I'm Phil. Welcome to my channel where I talk about all sorts of geeky pop culture things, including Doctor Who. And today we've got Reese, GallifreyForever97, with us here to talk about the villains from Series 11 and whether or not they should return. Hi, Reese.
Hi mate, how's it going? Yeah, hi everybody watching.
So what we're going to do is we're going to go through each of the episodes from Series 11 and talk about whether or not we think the villains from that episode, and sometimes there were multiple ones that you could class as the villains, whether or not they should return in Series 12 specifically, but maybe also in future series as well. So, should we get cracking?
Let's do it, let's go on with it. Let's go for the episodes.
Starting off, The Woman Who Fell to Earth. That's Tim Shaw. What do you think? We've had him back once already. So, is he worthy of another go-around?
It depends on the story. I don't know if he's kind of fulfilled his purpose. I know they obviously left it book open with the Series 7 finale. But personally, I kind of feel when Graham and Ryan tied up their stories, I felt like he sort of served his purpose. So for me personally, I wouldn't like to see him back. I'd rather him just stay in that little prison. What were you for it?
You see, Tim Shaw, did you like him as a villain, generally, in the 2 episodes he's appeared in so far? Because obviously he was in the opening episode and he was in the season finale. Did you like him as a villain?
I liked him in the opener, but he worsened for me in the finale. So it's kind of 50-50. So if he was more kind of going back to the opener, kind of more ruthless and not more of like a silly take, I think I probably would. So yeah, kind of 50-50 for me was sort of betrayal.
Yeah, I think I'm the same. I actually thought he was quite menacing and quite a good villain in the first episode. But I thought he was woefully underused in the finale. He was they just kind of wasted him, and he was off screen for most of the time. And when he was on the screen, he had that confrontation with Graham. Well, he had the confrontation with the Doctor where he was just sat down most of the whole time, and then he had that confrontation with Graham where he was defeated really easily by Graham and Ryan, and it seemed like they absolutely wasted his potential.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
So for that reason, I kind of want to see him again, because I'd quite like them to have an episode where they redeem that and he seems a bit more of a menacing threat again. One thing they could do, because I'd quite like to see more of his race as well. So some storyline that maybe incorporates, seeing more of his race and more of that culture, and him being a sort of having been shunned from it maybe because of his failure in the opening episode. That might be quite interesting.
Yeah, I'd say I liked what they kind of teased with the Ghost Monument, because they kind of did a bit of world building with his that kind of planet. So, but yeah, seeing more of his race, that would be really interesting to see, because obviously one of them is a bit like a Dalek, kind of one of them is quite dangerous, so a whole army, what would you do, like, so...
Do they all collect teeth, or is that just him? Is that just his...
Maybe he's got a weird fetish, I don't...
Maybe they all have different parts of their body.
Yeah, it's like, right, you have that part, you have the tongue, you have the teeth, like, yeah. Oh, God.
You go, oh, God, you've just put a horrible image in my head of just, like, one of his race with loads of tongues hanging off that he stapled to his face or something.
Sorry for that. Yeah, teeth was a step too far, but yeah.
Okay, so I think we are both agreed that we could have Tim Shaw back.
Yeah, yeah.
That's one, and certainly even in season 12, I think he probably would work. And it would be nice to see that continuing thread over and sort of arc over as well, I think would be quite good. So, episode 2 was the Ghost Monument, and who would you class as the villain in that? Because we didn't have a sort of single person. We kind of had multiple... We had the robots, which we've seen again, which kind of work for Tim Shaw, and that race. So I'm guessing that... if we saw that race, we might see the robots again anyway. So maybe I'm thinking more of... We've got the Remnants, haven't we? And they had that information about the Doctor and the Timeless Child. So if that's going to be a story arc, maybe them?
Yeah, it depends. I think they worked on that kind of world. And like you said, they'd be interested to explore that. Like you said, how did they know about that? That would be interesting to kind of see what further developments they have with that. And I guess you have the guy also that's obviously organised the race across space, so that would be quite interesting to see. Would you like to see him return, or do you feel...
I don't know. I mean, he was interesting. He was an interesting character, and in the episode I kind of thought he was a bit underused, but I don't know if there's anything interesting really they could do with him, and it kind of feels like there's not but I don't think there's a burning desire to see him back from
No.
and equally the Remnants were really good, but like you say, they do kind of just work in that environment, so I'm not really sure, unless for some reason we ever return to that planet, and I can't see why we would. The only way I can see them actually working maybe is again with similar to the robots, I suppose, if we're going to have another of Tim Shaw's race, an episode with Tim Shaw's racing. If we do get that, then that was a planet where that race were developing weapons, and the scientists were forced to develop stuff for that race. So maybe if we see Tim Shaw's, planet and race, we might see them, use those weapons that were developed on that planet. Maybe, I don't know. That's the only way I can really see that it being worth them coming back.
Yeah, so really it's just kind of flashback material for them, really. There's not kind of any sort of future stories with them.
Well, not necessarily flashback, because if they were developed on that planet as a weapon, then they might have been taken off that planet as a weapon to be used by Tim Shaw's race.
Gotcha, yeah.
Okay, so I think maybe on that one, my sort of conclusion is probably that for me, yeah, maybe as part of an episode with Tim Shaw's race, they might work, but otherwise not.
I think the same, really. I don't think they'd work outside that setting. So if we visited that world, yeah, sure. But I think if they turn up somewhere else, I don't think I'd be interested in that, to be honest. So yeah, I think if they're associated with Tim Shaw, cool. But yeah, that's all. They sort of serve their purpose.
So episode 3, Rosa, was of course Krasko. Krasko, the escaped bad guy, racist guy who last we saw him was being zapped by Ryan into the very distant past. Possibly prehistoric dinosaur times, something like that was the general hint that we got, I think. So how did you think he worked in the episode? Because people were mixed on this. He was very Marmite. Did you like him in the episode? Did you think he worked well?
Yeah, I think he did. Similar to kind of Tim Shaw, like, he was villain enough to have, like, a presence, but I think with the Rose Park story, I think that was kind of, obviously, they wanted to get that right, so maybe there could be more kind of development with him, kind of more of a backstory. I know we obviously got a glimpse. There could be more focus on him, but I think, obviously, the Rosa Parks story, they needed to get that right for that episode to work, so... but yeah, on his kind of return, maybe if he kind of had but would it kind of be a similar route of vengeance, obviously, with him being stuck in the past? Like, it'd be obviously, I know there was a lot of speculation online that obviously it'd be cool if he was like the meddling monk or something. Obviously he's not, but maybe he could kind of take on that role of maybe sort of going around the universe, like mucking up certain events throughout history. I'm not too sure, so... but yeah, no, I think, yeah, he was a pretty decent... I think he worked for that episode again. But yeah, I think maybe more stuff could have been put on in the episode. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I think he worked for that episode, like you said. And a lot of people, I think the people that do have criticisms of him thought that he was very underdeveloped. But for me, that's what that episode needed. He didn't need to be anything more than he was in that episode. So in that respect, and maybe, the people that did think he was underdeveloped might appreciate an episode that actually develops him a bit, possibly. And so if we did get another episode from, it'd be a bit more, it'd be interesting to go into, so maybe his psyche, and a bit more backstory about him, maybe, and find out a bit more about him. In terms of what kind of story it was, I don't know. Maybe they go back to what the time. Maybe they end up in the TARDIS team end up in the time that they accidentally sent him to. Maybe he finds a way out of that time, and just wants to seek revenge on the people that foiled his plans. Who knows? I think if they're gonna do it, I think that it needs to be Series 12 though, because I think, or at least, it depends how long this TARDIS team stick around for, because I think if it's going to be a revenge story, it needs to be a revenge story against the same TARDIS team.
Exactly, yeah.
It either is going to have to be Series 12 or possibly Series 13 if the whole team sticks around for another year after that. But I'd be up for seeing him again and seeing. I like a human villain occasionally, and I don't think that's something that Doctor Who doesn't do enough. Is an actual human villain, because there's always some kind of monster or something involved most of the time, especially in the modern era. And it was quite nice and refreshing to have a completely monster-free episode where the bad guy was a human and there was no... Because even episodes in the revival series where we've had a human bad guy, like the editor in Series 1, Simon Pegg's the editor, there was also a monster as well that he was working for. So it's just kind of nice to have just a human bad guy, and if we can get a recurring human bad guy, that could be quite interesting.
Yeah, I think that'd be quite cool. Like you said, obviously with history, obviously it's kind of like a set kind of thing. So like you said, if he was sort of messing about with time, I think that'd be quite a cool kind of recurring thing. I'm not too sure. Maybe he's like, it'd be cool to sort of do like a whole series of being like, I guess it'd be a bit kind of like copying Legends of Tomorrow, kind of like being like, oh, they've messed up this event, let's go fix that, like that. But no, yeah, I think it'd be nice to see more of his kind of psyche. But yeah, no, I've like I said, it's nice to actually have. It's very refreshing to have that. Just like you said, because obviously all the ones that have had kind of humans as the villain have always been backed up by a monster or another villain, etc. So yeah, no, it'd be interesting to continue that thread. Yeah.
So we think maybe yes to that, do we?
I think, yeah, safely say thumbs up, yeah, to his return.
Okay, so next is Arachnids in the UK. I suppose we've got the spiders in this, which were kind of like the monster bad guy. And then we've got, what was his name? I've forgotten his name. The presidential candidate guy, whatever his name was, him as well. So, I don't know which one we want to tackle first. Let's tackle the spiders first. Did you like them in the episode? Do you want to see them again?
I liked them in the episode. I think they were good effect. Obviously, their kind of resolution was a bit poor. But I think they worked in that episode. I don't think I'd like to see them return. Yeah, I don't know. I just would like to revisit that story. So for me, I think the spies leave them in that kind of episode. I think maybe I don't know. Maybe it'd be quite cool to see. Obviously, because obviously it was quite a poor kind of execution of the Doctor. Sort of been like, right, it's just trapped in a room, and maybe they escape, and there's even more of them. Not too sure. So like the plan kind of backfires if they were going to kind of improve on that ending. So, but no, I don't think I'd like to see another episode. What were you, Philip?
No, I think they're very unique to that story, and they're just normal spiders that got mutated by the stuff on Earth. It's not like they're a race of spider aliens or anything like that. I don't think there's any scope really. It would feel like they're forcing it in order to have them return. So, yeah, good effect, I suppose, but they were in what I consider the worst episode of the series. So that's not got that going for them either. So no, definitely not them returning. The presidential candidate guy, he is a slightly different matter. I didn't like the way he was used in this episode. I thought the Trump parallels were a bit too on the nose and a bit too weird and confusing, because he was talking about running against Trump, but he was very much like Trump, and so he wasn't meant to be Trump. He was someone else. It wasn't just like a thinly veiled Trump caricature in that sense, but he was effectively had many of the same characteristics, and I just didn't quite get that side of it. However, I think there is possible potential for, them to go to maybe when the presidential arrive in America, an episode set in America when the presidential campaign's on, or maybe even after he's become president and he, comes up against them then. Could be interesting because he's already met them, he already knows slightly about them. Seeing that dynamic could be good. Whether or not I would have him as an out-and-out... I mean, he wasn't an out-and-out bad guy in this episode. He wasn't the villain of the story as such. I mean, he kind of was because he caused the... his negligence caused the spiders and everything. But I think there's a way they could use him, and it would be another nice sort of feeling of continuity to have him pop up as president at some point in Series 12. If not in Series 12, then maybe actually Series 13. Maybe they could see a news broadcast in Series 12 where he's been elected and then have him back for Series 13. That might be quite nice.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. Actually, I think that we kind of having that Harriet Jones style kind of thing where you've kind of got that sort of, like you said, if they visit America, then he is obviously president. But no, yeah, I really like the sound of that. Like, I think that'd be quite cool. Like I say, keep that kind of continuity. I think you're right in saying obviously like if maybe have a series trial for him to actually sort of get elected, and it's kind of like they see sort of news glimpses, and then in Series 13 if they're still around, like say sort of be like, oh wow, he's the president now. Oh my gosh, we're doomed. But yeah, but yeah, I agree with you about the Donald Trump parody. Like I said, I never really thought about that being like obviously he was like a hate Trump, but he was like basically a rip off of Trump. So. So yeah, maybe. Yeah, I think yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing his return. Not as a villain though. I don't know if that would work, but maybe as like a president.
The Pating. Okay, we're on the Saranga conundrum. Very, very divisive little creature, the Pating.
Yeah.
A lot of people hated him. I didn't mind him as a villain, and villain's the wrong word, but as a antagonist for the episode, as the problem for the episode. I thought he was alright in the episode. I didn't rate the episode particularly highly. It was my second to least favourite second episode. But I don't think the Pating was the problem for me. So, but saying that, I don't necessarily think there's another story in there for them. They go around eating everything they can get their hands on. That doesn't... I think they've told that story, and I can't really see another story that they could tell with it. But so to me, it could be something like not returning as a villain, but maybe they could show up in the background. Like the Adipose did on the bar with that Jack was in, and one just toddles by. Just seeing them referenced But I don't think returning for an episode based on them would really work, and I don't think it would go down well given the mixed reception either.
No, that was my exact thoughts pretty much. Saying like it should like the adipose. That was just kind of direct reference. Yeah, as I say, even though that was my worst episode for that series. I'd just say the Pating was fine. I thought it worked. I know obviously some people it's kind of like Marmite, but I more than like side. I think it was. Again, it worked for the episode, but like I said, but there again, if it kind of cameoed, obviously it's such a big meant to be this like massive threat. You'd be like, oh god, they're in trouble if it like turn up on a ship. So
yeah, I mean maybe they've got one in containment somewhere or something that it's just in the background in like a prison or something, or a zoo or something like that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, something like that. Yeah, so kind of just have it entrapped. So, but no, yeah, I don't think, again, it worked in that story, and I wouldn't see that in another setting, really.
Demons of the Punjab is next, and so we kind of didn't... I mean, the villains were really the humans in this, so that definitely isn't... we're not going to have the same human villains again, are we? Because that was just the prejudice of the people that were in that particular episode. So, but the what were they called?
Fajarians, something like that.
Fajarians, something like that. I can't remember what they're exactly called now. They weren't the villains in the end. That was the twist. What did you like that twist?
Yeah, I think to be honest, they weren't kind of working for me until they kind of did that twist in a strange way. They made it kind of more interesting. Like they're obviously saying that again, like the sort of Bating being like all these very dangerous sort of creatures and that, but they weren't actually showing that. So I think it'd be cool if they, and I remember I don't know if I said this on a hangout once, but kind of them exploring that kind of time of them being like these ruthless assassins. I think it'd be quite cool to see, depending on the story. So yeah, no, I did like that twist in the end. It was quite an interesting thing. It was like sort of time was the enemy in that, really. But yeah, so in terms of them, I like to actually go back and see them how they were on their kind of like their peak of being these sort of legendary assassins. That'd be quite cool.
I think these guys could definitely return in that capacity that you said there. I'd like to see them when they were ruthless bounty hunters or ruthless, killers, and just maybe see the incidents that made them rethink that and what took them off that path. That could be quite interesting at some point as well.
Yeah, so I think we both agree it's like if they went back to their sort of peak time of being these legendary assassins, yeah.
So, next one is one that's quite well received amongst a lot of fans. Kablam. Wasn't one of my favourites, I've got to admit, but a lot of people really like this episode. I liked it when we revealed the twist, actually. I liked the last quarter a lot better than the first sort of 2/3, the last third better than the first 2/3. But the bad guy again was a human. In the end, that's the twist. The robots, though, would you like to see them back in any capacity? Do you think they could be... Is there any way we could have them back?
I think just cameos again, really. Yeah, just kind of a nice Easter egg. I don't know, unless... yeah, I'm not too sure, really.
Yeah, I can't really see anything they could do with them
No.
in terms of an actual story about the robots again. So, again, yeah, we could have them back as cameos. We could have them, showing up with a delivery every now and again or something. Or, something like that. But, I there's not really anywhere to go with the story about them, I don't think.
No, again, unless they're sort of controlled by someone else, but obviously that we're just kind of rehashing.
Yeah, that's been done. Why
Exactly, yeah. So yeah, I think a nice Easter egg if they get a package, or again, yeah, that'd be quite fun.
But not returning as a major villain. That's a no from us then on that one. Even though it was one of the more popular episodes of the series, apparently. The Witchfinders is next, and that's the Morax, the creatures that were the mud creatures that were imprisoned underneath the Pendle Hill, was it? Is it Pendle Hill?
I think that's the hill, yeah.
Yeah, what are your thoughts about them? Did you like them within the episode?
I quite enjoyed them with that kind of mystery thing, but when they kind of revealed more about them and they had that sort of speech about what their plan was, I kind of lost interest in them. I don't think I could see them returning. I'd say maybe if they obviously shown them going back in how they got to that point, but I don't think that's something a lot of people would be obviously interested in. So yeah, again, if they did return, maybe to kind of redeem themselves, I'm not too sure. But for me, it's just kind of it didn't really work for me as a whole. I enjoyed again the kind of horror elements at the beginning and throughout. But yeah, I personally would like to see them return. What you, Philip? Maybe
yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
Same for me completely. I don't really have any desire to see these guys again. And in same reasons really as you. I think they were okay while they were mysterious, non-speaking mud creatures, but then once the main one started speaking and it possessed Becca. And they just became sort of mustache twirling villains of the week, and I just lost all interest in them. So I don't really have any desire to see them again, particularly.
Yeah, no, it's just again just not. They could return, but I just don't. I'm not really saying I'd like to see them back. Really, again, they just like mustache twirly, perfectly summed up kind of villains in the end. So no, I personally would like to see them return.
Yeah, so that's a no from us for the Morax.
Double no.
Next, we got the very trippy It Takes You Away, slightly a very strange, surreal episode, and the bad guy in this is a whole universe,
Yeah.
a sentient universe. Do we want to see that sentient universe again? What do you think?
Oh, yeah, I think. Well, it was my favourite episode of Series 11. I'm not too sure if I would actually. Even though I love the episode, I don't think how it would return in a sense. I think it kind of worked in the context of the story, like the kind of mystery's gone on it. It's kind of like you know it can't exist in this universe, so it's kind of. I wouldn't like to see it return. Actually, I think as I sort of speak, I've just realised. No, I don't think I would actually. I think it works beautifully in that episode. So no.
Yep. No, I wouldn't. No, I can't see where they would go with it, really. I can't see how there is another story to tell with that universe, particularly. So, you know, some villains are great, but they are just for an episode, and they fit just for one episode, and you don't need to see them again. And this is definitely one of those.
Yeah, there's so many classic monsters that are kind of the same thing, like the Zygons up to one point. I read the monsters in the Seas of Doom, the Crinoids. Like, I think that's a great thing, but it's obviously never returned. So it's nice to have these kind of monsters which just work in these sort of one brilliant episode type thing. So yeah, sure.
Yeah. And that, I suppose, is kind of it. Well, no. We got the season finale, which we've already talked about because Tim Shaw is in that again. So we're kind of going back to that. Let's just deal with the Daleks, because we had the Dalek in obviously the Resolution New Year's Day special. Obviously we want to see the Daleks again at some point, but do you want to see them again so soon in Series 12?
Is a very tough question. I think wait for Series 13 if they were to return. I'm not too sure because they have kind of. I feel like it's a very similar kind of story pattern to what they did with Series 1, kind of introduce that and then obviously have the sort of whole army of Daleks. So I found it'd be nice to have a sort of mega story with a Dalek army for sure. I can't really say no to any Daleks. But maybe not too soon, because I think I'd just see them come back and possibly redesigned. But there's other monsters I sort of like the Cybermen I like to see return in Series 12. Kind of have that sort of treatment with them. So I think give the Daleks a break for a while, but maybe some time nearer down the end of her era in Series 13 maybe sort of have like the big epic Dalek army story. So at some point, but I don't think in Series 12. What would you rather, Philip?
Yeah, I don't want to see them in Series 12. I said I didn't want to see them in Series
No,
11
I thought
that. But because I want them to have a decent enough rest that when they come back, it's really impactful. However, saying that, I was absolutely pleased with what happened in Resolution. I loved that. Although, I wasn't keen on the design particularly, but it worked in that story. I wouldn't want to see that design again.
Yeah.
But it worked in that story, and so they surprised me there. So they might do again. But I think it would be good to rest them for more than a year. Just rest them so they're not in Series 12, and then they come back, towards the end of Series 13. So then by that point they would have had, a year and a half, a season and a half off or whatever. I think that's a good way to make us want them back again. Whereas I think bringing them back every year dilutes it slightly, and I get why they do it. They've got merchandise, Dalek toys sell better than other monster toys, and Dalek merchandise says it's good to keep that for marketing reasons. It's good to keep them in the zeitgeist, but I think they would benefit from a little bit of a rest before they come back with a redesign. So we'll see. But of course, Judy's gonna go up against them in the VR game that's coming out. The Edge of Time, was it? Is that what it's called? So we'll get to see the Daleks then. So if you need your Dalek fixed next year, you're getting it. Don't worry. Or is that later this year? That's even later this year. So you're going to be getting your Dalek fix this year. Let's just leave it off the series for a bit, I think.
Yeah, I think when they kind of returned in Resolution, I like I said, I was pleased with what they did with them, but I think they've had too many kind of one Dalek sort of cameo things. Obviously, it was like the pilot, they had a cameo, Twice Upon a Time. So I think, like I said, give that a rest, and then when they come back, it's like, oh my god, we've got this impossible, massive army. What we're gonna do? Like I said, that impactful thing, that want of the Daleks coming back. So yeah, hopefully we'll give them a break in Series 12. I think we can both agree on that.
Well, there we go. We've worked out which of Series 11 bad guys we'd like to see again. Thank you for coming along, Reese, and discussing this with me. For everyone at home, now what you've got to do is, if you haven't already, go over to Reese's channel, because we've got another video which should have also been uploaded today, the same day as this, where we're talking about classic monsters that could return to Series 12. So, classic series monsters. Did we do just classic series monsters? I think it is, isn't it? And maybe some from the new series as well. But basically ones that
they kind of count, don't they, in the classics? Yeah.
So we're chatting about that over on Reese's channel. So go on to GallifreyForever97 and check that out. I'll leave a link in the description below, of course. Thanks a lot. Say goodbye, Reese.
Thank you for watching. Thank you for Philip for having me on. And check out our other video on my channel.
And I will see you for my next video. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and all that jazz. And I will see you again soon. Thanks a lot. Bye.
Bye-bye.